Hey, Kanene, welcome to the NTM Growth Marketing Podcast. I'm excited to be speaking with you today more officially. I know we've had a few debriefs.
I'm excited. Yes, I'm Kanene Holder. I am the future fixer. How to make sure that AI, marketing, HR, and everything in between is to be the most inclusive and ready for the future as possible.
How and why did you get into this?
Get into what?
Marketing, everything you just laid out, AI. Love to hear kind of how and why you got into this space.
Oh yeah, I know. Because it's like, am I in this space? How long? It's insane. I think I was blessed to have very opinionated parents from the Caribbean. So from Trinidad and Jamaica. So I always had like this inside outside lens into America and what makes America like work and what makes America appealing. Like clearly my parents moved here, right? So I was like, I was, the 80s is I call it the master class of marketing, right? Got Milk, Air Jordans, want to be like Mike. Like to me, the best of advertising was in the 80s. Like the public service announces, Smokey the Bear, only you can stop forest fires. So like we would literally be repeating these jingles for Diet Coke and Diet Pepsi. There were these wars, there were brand wars, but it was all like fun. And it was just like, it was non-negotiable. Like if you were alive, you were bombarded with 7-Up versus Sprite. Like you name it, it seemed like this is the only way that a human being could exist not even in America, but on the planet, right? It was just like, we had to see this. You know what I'm saying? Like Pepsi versus Coke. When you went to every birthday party, was it Pepsi? What, like literally, like I'm 4 years old, and I'm making this like life altering decision. Like, I don't know, mommy, whichever one's on sale, like everything was so brand centered, brand centric, unabashed, and it was just like people were really, people were political. My parents were, very political as well. But it seemed like American capitalism kind of eclipsed politics in that regard because branding was so much fun. So I was watching a lot of TV as a child. Carol Burnett, The Lifestyles of the Rich and Famous, all of these things. And then I always wanted to just like express that in my own. I was just a very creative child. And so I was asked a lot of questions and get into a lot of trouble. I was just constantly wondering how do you get this commercial? Like who are these children that are eating the Fruit Loops on TV? Like I would constantly try to figure all these things out, and then I would listen to my father's record collection of Bob Marley and Peter Tosh and Fela, and I would hear all Gil Scott Heron, the revolution will not be televised. And I was like, well, but I'm watching TV, So I constantly be mitigating these two seemingly competing aspects of my life that were coming in like all this politics, right? And then all this capitalism. And I went to Howard University and I decided to study speech pathology because my brother had a speech impediment. And it was during the height of the Ebonics debate. Mm-hmm. And so that was the first time that I thought about, oh, wow, that like culture, how you speak can have not just classist implications, but also political ramifications. Like it's dominating the news cycle and Meet the Press. The president is issuing, talking points on Ebonics. Like it was in like that Ebonics, Newt Gingrich, like that whole epoch of time was insane. And I'm like 17 years old on Howard University's campus trying to make sense of that as well. And so I really started to think about like, oh wow, like language is more than just how we communicate and how we connect, right? It also can convey who you are and why you should or should not be monetized and taken seriously. So then I abandoned that and became an educator, and I was in a classroom and I used to tell the kids like, I'm bored too. I was like, I used to be a bored kid just like you. My first grade teacher said that I lacked self-control. She really did say this in my report cards. This is a legal document, first grade. So I used to tell the kids like, I don't want to be bored like I used to be in the classroom. So my room is my classroom is going to be the most fun. And I would tell them, I was like, I'm going to make my stage my classroom and my classroom my stage. So I would think about like marketing, like I would think about advertising, I would think about like how a brand was performative and larger than life. And so I would make my curriculum larger than life. And I would have the kids come up with a commercial to sell me the reasons why we should travel to Mesopotamia. You know, become an advertising agency. You're doing a travel commercial for ancient Mesopotamia. Because I was bored. I was just like, all right, let's go. Let's have some fun here. Right. So the kids loved it. The other teachers hated it because my classrooms were loud, but my results were really, really high, just like my expectations, just like my energy. And so I got a lot of awards in education, and people would come. The deputy secretary of education would come to my classroom. My classroom was like the model classroom whenever, because I was at Harlem Children's Zone. So whenever these major people would come, they would always highlight my room because my room was like camera ready, literally, because the kids were like, they were used to it. And I was also a commercial TV actress as well. So it was just like, Miss Holder's on TV. Yes. So all this is going on. And then I wanted to be off Broadway. So then I used to perform satires on politics, on the media, on commercials, on fashion, and I would do shows off Broadway. So, and I would network with all these different people in academia, in advertising, in tech, because again, for me to do satire, I got to know what's actually happening. And my goal was always to be on Saturday Night Live, and I was like, I'm going to be researched. I'm going to know what I'm talking about, and then I'm going to satirize it, and then I'm going to still, you know. So all that to say that all of these different seemingly disparate, divergent fields that I've kind of not just dipped into, but done a deep dive in education. Then I started to do work in artificial intelligence because I was presenting at South by Southwest last year, EDU, how to talk about race, right, in the classroom in the age of woke wars and book bans. And a friend of mine was telling me about his new AI tool called DEIGPT. And at the time I was like, I'm not really feeling this AI thing. This is March 2023, right? It's just barely a year ago. And ChatGPT had just launched in November of 2022. And but again, DEI was already under immense attack. You know, a lot of the promises that these corporations were making didn't quite match up to the reality. And so I was like, well, riddle me this. Let me see if I can like start to learn AI. And again, I'm a teacher, so I know how the brain works. I know how to learn. And ironically, I was able to learn AI really quickly because AI is modeled after the brain, which I learned when I did speech pathology at Howard University when I was trying to figure out ebonics. So large language models are really based on linguistics, all of the algorithms, predictive text, and all of that. I was studying that before we knew it was artificial intelligence in 1997 and 1998 and onward at Howard University. And I was studying augmentative alternative communication devices. So like I think his name is Stephen Hawkins, you know, people who have to use devices that allow them to communicate when they physically cannot. I was studying that in speech recognition technology in 1997. So the progenitor to pre-Siri is what I was studying and got fellowships for at Howard University. So, you know, Act 2, how 20 years later, AI comes around, large language models comes around. I'm like, oh, I can learn this because half of it I already learned because neural networks are mapping the brain, neural networks in your brain. So when I keep hearing all these schema, all this I learned at Howard with speech pathology. So that's how I got in the world of AI. And then because advertisers and marketers love AI because AI is like going to skyrocket their profits because they're going to be able to target ads even that much more, right? So then the ad tech world is like, what? You know AI? Come here. And so that's what's landed me, ironically, into this world of marketing, advertising, ad tech, is because as much as it could seem like I've just been wasting 20 years of my life just learning so much and meeting so many different people in so many different industries, actually, no, I'm a big asset now because in the world of AI, in the AI is touching all of those different industries.
Mhm.
It's touching academia. It's not even just touching it. It's like changing, these industries, right? This is pre-AI and this is now, right? Because of AI's touch. And so now that's why I'm just so thrilled to have these conversations about the inclusive implications of all of these different industries and what that means for humanity, because I'm also an activist in social justice, but and also just like for our mental, right? Our mental sustainability, right? As we continue to be bombarded with so much more information, like how do we still continue to be, beautiful, loving, open, trusting, human, literal beings? Long answer, but
What would you
it's
say
insane.
you're
I look at
most
it every, how did I get here?
what would you say you're most looking forward to in marketing in 2024?
What I'm most interested in marketing in 2024 is artificial intelligence use cases and also inclusive marketing use cases. So specifically with artificial intelligence, there've been multi-billion-dollar investments specifically only in the fourth quarter of Amazon alone, right? Just to close out the year in terms of holiday shopping, right?
Mhm.
So they're going big on, having photos of your face and superimposing products that they want to market to you. Like that's already a thing. Like whether it's trickled down to your particular usage on the internet for 20 minutes at a time as of literally today, the 22nd day of January, it's coming, right? Just like ad tech came, right? Like
Mhm.
the notion of much more targeted, much more nuanced ways of saying, hey, we know who you are, we know what you like. And you might be wondering, what is this product? Would that product work for me? Let's simulate to the greatest degree possible that product and you are synergistic. You
Mhm.
and that product are one. So that's one thing.
Can I ask
Two,
one follow-up question to that?
yeah.
So I've always given this example of, when I'm watching the Steelers play, I hate the commercials that I see
Mm,
because they're not relevant to me as it's like Geico or I don't drink and it's, cars,
mhm,
versus I actually enjoy having targeted ads on social media as it actually is something I enjoy. Even just watching that quick little video is like,
mhm.
oh, I like camping, and this is a cool camping video of a new backpack I could have, whatever that looks like. What is your thoughts on that?
Oh yeah, I love that idea. Like I actually, I know that there's a fear of cookie degradation, right? But I actually love, now that I'm in the industry, but I already thought about this before I was in the industry. I love targeted ads.
Mhm.
I want to see what this the internet, the information superhighway thinks that who I am. I want to see, are you going to give me Bulgari or are you going to give me Tiffany when I start to Google diamonds? I want to know,
Right.
right? So I just heard he's like head of, I forget what division it was, but for Peacock. So he's responsible for that last game that like had 20 twenty
Oh
three
yeah, the
million.
Chiefs Dolphins
Mm-hmm,
playoff game. Mhm.
mm-hmm. And what he said is that we can look forward to multi-platform, multi ways in which to engage with the game in real time. And then obviously they're going to do that because of ads, right?
Mhm.
So there's going to be like a Toy Story version of the football game simulcast along with the actual football game.
Have
There's
you
going
seen any of those this past season? I thought it was going to
oh,
be
so you've seen
cheesy.
them?
I saw a few of them. I don't like watching, my Steelers on that, but I watched different gameplay. It was
Mm-hmm.
amazing how accurate it was and how engaging the game was. And I thought it was going to be really cheesy, but it was
Like leave
fantastic.
me alone. Like what's going on here? Like why? Like knock it off. But like you're saying it is immersive and you do find value in it. Yeah. So they said that they can make real time stats so you can see exactly how fast the running back is running. They can make
Mhm.
predictions as to like the likelihood that this play is going to run versus that play is going to run, like all like in real time, not the highlight reel, not ESPN bloviating, post game recap. No, they're saying in real time that they can do that. And obviously, there's going to be marketing implications for that because, like you said, there's a gap, right, between the ads that you want that you watch now and the ads that you would rather watch, and maybe even click to cart and buy, right? So I'm really excited about that actually because I think it does reflect and connect who we are. Now, it can be done in a good way, and it can also be done in a horrible way that will literally turn people off, right? But I am excited to see, within that gap between turning people on and turning people off, like what companies are going to do to meet the demand, which is what you're talking about. So that's one. And then two, just more and more inclusive marketing, and not in a pandering way, not in a like after the fact kind of way, or like, oh, you know what, we needed to do that. All right, here, but like really intentional from beginning, middle to end. That's why I actually love this background. Like from the beginning, middle to the end, like for people from different backgrounds to feel like, wow, like me and this brand are one. That team, that company took the time to know who I am, know what I would respond to, and resonates that with the brand. I think that there's a conversation that should be ongoing in 2024 to get to that pot of gold and that sweet spot.
Is there a brand out there that you think does a great job at inclusive marketing?
Nike.
Nike. Can you share why?
I think that and I've said this before at the Brand Safety Summit. Which is an amazing organization that, again, it's the intersection of ad tech and inclusion, and being stewards of advertising and media in a way that is responsible in terms of digital safety as well. So, I talked about that, like how can brands pivot from, like you said, just random ads, maybe shots in the dark, to really resonating with the zeitgeist, resonating where people actually are, and then move the conversation forward. Right. And sometimes companies are so risk averse that they rather stay where they are than risk connecting with a younger, more demanding, and more discerning audience. Because that's what's coming. That's what's coming for any of these brands, these TikTokers, these Gen Zs, with their 4% battery life and their 4 hours left before parent controls get them off the phone. That's what you're marketing towards. So what are you doing? And I think Nike is still, how many years later, ahead of the curve. Like if you look down anywhere you go, I was just at CES. I could go to the Smithsonian tomorrow. I could go to MoMA next week. If I look down, everybody has Air Force Ones on. Everybody. When you look at the movie that they just released last year,
I have Air Force Ones. I wear those.
Boom. Do you have them now?
I wish I did. I'm actually I rotate off. I have my soccer shoes on today. I just felt like wearing them, but
no,
yeah, I got my Air Force Ones.
We believe you. That I'm just putting you on the spot, and I'm clowning. I mean, I'm just being silly, but yeah, like anywhere you go, from a mall to the MoMA, everybody has on Air Force Ones. And then you had the backstory, right? You had the prequel to Air Force One dominance, where you had the movie that came out last year about the journey of Air Force Ones at Nike. So I think Nike stays ahead of the curve. How much marketing do they have to do versus how much marketing do they need to do? They're smart because they've got the control. It's intergenerational. I've seen baby boomers running for their flight at whatever airport in their Air Force Ones. Like to me, it's a big phenomenon that I think, as much as it's been saturated and it's ubiquitous, I think to me it's a deep dive and a case study in brand legacy and brand loyalty. The Air Force Ones, like, it's huge, and Jordan and what he has done to transform the entire athletic marketing industry. And one of my key mentors is actually Dr. John Carlos, who's one of the dynamic duo that put their fist up for the 1968 Olympics, Puma, right? So the notion of the intersection of athleticism and activism has been a through line in American history for years. And hence when Nike was like, boom, Colin Kaepernick, we got you, paid off. Like, sure, tons of people were burning their Kaepernick jerseys and burning Nikes. Sure. But who won? And again, the calculated risks. And I think Nike, maximized that play, pun intended. Touchdown. It's a touch point in American society and culture.
So my last thought for today is we're just about time, and I would love for you to share some shout outs to specifically what your own organization does, how someone can get in touch with you, the best way you operate if someone wants to take you up on a conversation.
Oh my goodness. This has gone by too fast. You are a pillar of the marketing community, Andrew. So I just wanted to thank
Thank
you.
you.
We like hit it running that I couldn't even thank you and say, oh my goodness, like thank you so much for having me. Yeah, so thank you so much for all that you do and the way that you do it. In terms of me, so I'm launching what I call Future Fixer AI, right? So again, Future Fixer fixing is using the insights now so that we don't have to do crisis management in the future, right?
Mhm.
So it's staying ahead of the trends, it's staying ahead of the zeitgeist, and it's also staying ahead of the intangible, right?
Mhm.
Not everything is qualitative. I mean, not everything is quantitative. Every once in a while, there's something qualitative that you can't put your finger on it. But once you're able to intersect what's happening and you see it, right? You can say, wait a minute, we need to prepare for that.
Mhm.
And because of my 20 years of being in academia, being on stage, being behind the scenes, being, an educator, dealing with the youth, dealing with all of these different indices now, including artificial intelligence, I'm poised to actually give, high impact insights to help steer the ship, right, in 2024 and beyond, so that you avoid the iceberg and
A-
you sure.
And what are ways someone can reach out to you or learn more?
Oh yeah. So it's futurefixer.ai and it's going to be info at futurefixer.ai. I'm launching the website probably as soon as I get off this call.
Amazing.
It's up, but yeah, I'm just gonna like put some little, bells and whistles in there. But yeah, my last thing, if I can find it, is I think about every year we do this thing where we go, Happy New Year, right? And it's like, yeah, but what are you doing to actually make sure that it's happy? And what's your plan when
Mhm.
it's not? And that's what Future Fixer is all about, ensuring that there's more happy times because you put in the work to ensure that when things go wrong, you still have a plan to make it go right.
Mhm.
Futurefixer.ai. So that's what I think about.
Amazing. Well, Kanene, thank you so much for your time today. It was greatly appreciated.
Thank you, Andrew. This has been such a pleasure. Thank you so much for all that you do and will continue to do to feature, cutting edge, top rate individuals talk about the future of marketing, advertising, and humanity.